Hey, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I have an absolutely fantastic comedian, actor, writer,
Oh.
producer. Anthony Oakes is with me. Anthony, thank you so much for being here.
Hey Scott, it is my pleasure. Thank you so
No, the
much for
pleasure
having
is
me.
all mine, my friend. It is all
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, I appreciate it. I'm good, glad to be here.
You are a fantastic guy. Let's start. You're in D.C. You're in Washington, D.C. right now?
Yes, currently in Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
Southeast.
I used to work outside. I used to work in Lanham, Maryland,
Okay, not
just
far away at
outside of
all.
D.C. Yeah.
Yep.
But you're originally from, I think, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Is that right?
Yes, so technically I was born in Mount Airy, North
I
Carolina,
know
which
Mount
is
Airy. Yep.
what the Andy Griffith show was based on. And then that's where my family estate is in Mount Airy, but I grew up in Winston-Salem.
Okay. And now in DC. When did you start doing comedy?
When I moved to DC about 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in North Carolina. I've lived all over,
Okay.
but at this particular time, I was in North Carolina. Um, and it was either I moved to DC or just run my life into the ground.
What,
I'm, I,
let's go back a little bit. I raced over that. What was that like when you moved from North Carolina to DC?
I mean, I've lived in New York before,
Okay.
so yeah, and I've been to DC numerous amounts of times. And I had friends and family up here.
Okay.
So it wasn't strange. I got right up here and
All right.
began to blossom into a new person.
As I told you, I have a great story about North Carolina. And it just,
Run it.
the first time I went to North Carolina, I never heard the word fixing before. Hey, buddy, ain't nobody fixing to do nothing quick around here. I was like, damn, I stepped back in time. Uh, we established that you started doing comedy about 10 years ago. Was there a
Mhm.
catalyst? Was there something that said, Anthony, go do comedy?
Yeah, I kind of switched comedy for cocaine. I was uh, oh God,
I've
I
done
was
my share of cocaine.
yeah, I was a cocaine head. I was an
Wow.
addict for a very long time. And when I moved to DC, I would, dibble and dabble, but then it was just like I really got fed up. I just got fed up with like the life I was living and simultaneously found comedy through this crazy story. But,
You can tell it. You
that's
can tell it if you want.
so yeah, I was working in a natural hair care salon. Like they did locks,
Right.
natural hair braids, things of that nature.
Okay.
And a client came in and um, he was like, "Oh, you're funny, blah blah blah. You should. I'm gonna put you in connection with my guy. He does comedy and he'll like teach you the ropes, blah blah blah." And I got the name and I put it in my pocket. I was like, man, but
Bring
I
you in
did
back.
see the
Right.
name. I did see the name. Because I was like, it's a funny name. And then 2 weeks later, a young lady came in and I was shampooing her and she was like, "Oh my God, you are so funny." She was like, "You should really try stand-up comedy." And I was like, wow, that's the second person that said that within the
Okay.
past 2 weeks. She said, "I'm taking a comedy workshop." She was like, "The time has already passed. You'll have to take the next one." She was like, "But I'll put you in contact with the people and blah, blah, blah."
Okay.
So my boss was listening. He was like, "Anthony, I really think you're funny. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever day you need off to do the workshop, I think you should do
Wow.
it." So I did the workshop. They didn't really, they gave you like the basics, how to construct a joke, what to do on stage,
Okay.
stuff like that. But they didn't tell you what to do after the workshop. Like, what do you do? Where do you go to like practice or like get booked? Um, so the workshop had what do you call it a showcase of all the
Right. Right.
students.
Right.
And literally, so when like I performed my set, and as I'm performing my set, it was like two things were going on. Like I was saying the jokes, but also in my head, it was like, this is what you're supposed to be doing for the
Right.
rest of your
Right.
life.
Yeah.
You have to, and I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it was like the voice in my head was like, you've got to stop doing drugs.
Okay.
And when I got my
Wow.
first wave of laughter, it was just like something literally washed over me. Um,
That's great.
and so after that showcase, one of the mentors in the workshop, she pulled me aside and she was like, "Hey, I think you've got what it takes. Like,
Yeah.
don't tell the other students, but I think you've got something special. You should really, hone your craft. I'm
Yeah.
gonna give you the name of a person, and he's gonna help you assist." Why was it the same name that the first guy gave me months ago in the salon?
That's
Same
wow.
person. This is a little white woman. This was a man with locks. Like
Yeah.
two totally demographics. They don't know each other,
Yeah.
but it was just like
Wow.
everything just came together, and
That's an
that's how
amazing story, Anthony.
it's
Amazing.
crazy. It's
I love it.
crazy.
Well, let's move on because we got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Besides doing stand up, you do produce shows, and you got one coming up March 14th. It's called Seven Black Minutes Divine Femininity. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
You want to talk
So
about because just real quick, two of your people that are on you're hosting, but the Gwyn Factor and D'Lo are on that show, and they've both been on this show.
yes. And Patrice was also going to be on the show, but I think she'll be like in Zimbabwe or something. She's booked out of the country.
Okay.
But the
Zimbabwe.
show, listen,
I
she's
know,
on
I
a
know, I know.
world tour. She's on a world tour. I'm proud of
Patrice
my
has been on
sister.
the show. I'm going to mention that down the road. I got Patrice written down.
So Seven Black. So actually, me and Patrice used to do a show called The Black Think Tank with Anthony and Patrice. It was during the pandemic. It was
Okay.
virtual. We would bring on comedians and they would do like 3 black minutes of like black, blah, 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 blah. But
Okay.
then when the pandemic was over, people wanted to get back out. We weren't really doing the virtual thing anymore.
Right.
But I love the concept. So I changed it up to 7 black minutes. And I did it at Busboys and Poets Anacostia. I did it at 14th and V too, here in DC. But it's for the community. I have an ASL interpreter for people who are hearing impaired. It's DJ, food, fun, drinks. It's super fun. I always do a balance of 3 male or male presenting, 3 female, female presenting. Because I think everything should have balance.
Right.
Um, and then for this particular show on the 14th, it's National Women's Month, and I'm honoring Dr. Sylvia Trevor Morrison, who was a DC native. She
Right.
was the first Black woman to associate writer on SNL, and she has a load of other credits to her name.
Well,
We're
I'm
honoring
gonna get
her.
excuse me. I'm gonna get this up and air it and put all the links to everything before that,
Okay,
so we can
thank you. I
try and
appreciate
help
that.
promote it. And
Yeah,
one
it's
other
gonna be a
real
great
quick
show.
one other quick thing. You mentioned Women's Month for the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest. That I made a vow to Joanna Briley and to the Gwyn Factor and Starla Hines. I started supporting it last
Oh,
year, and
I love Starla.
this year I said I'm going to do. And if you've seen, I've done nothing for the last month, but I've just had nothing but black women on the show.
Listen, I went to New York and I worked the Black Women in Comedy Festival for Joanna. And it was one of the best things that I could have done
Yeah,
possibly, just as far as assisting women and
yeah.
networking and, just picking up little tips here and there. It's a great festival. I'm so proud of Joanna.
She was on the show on my show, and last week or the other week, I don't know if you saw it. She was on the Today Show.
Yeah, she is making her
Yeah,
rounds. I
she's
love to
doing
see it.
well.
I love to
I love
see
her.
it.
I think she's great. Not as much as I love you, brother. I love you too.
Oh, I love you too,
I love you
Scott.
too. Let's move on. You've played all over. I mean, when I say all over, you've played all over the United States. Do you have a favorite place to play?
Oh. I don't. So here's my thing. And people who travel around knows that every place is distinct. Like
Yeah,
here in DC is different from New York and
sure.
LA and Chicago and down south. I think each one brings its little je ne sais quoi per
Je
se.
ne sais quoi.
Um,
Ooh.
but I think that if I had to, I there's nothing like performing at home here in DC.
I thought that's where
Um,
you were going to go.
Yeah, there's nothing like for like the love that you get, the love that I get here. I'm still able to work, even though I work around the country. I'm still able to work and get booked here locally. And it's just I have a really great support system here. Really great fans, and
Yeah.
I appreciate them.
Okay, cool. Um, and I'm gonna we'll hopefully we'll have time for it. But you touched on there the differences from DC to North Carolina to here to there. There's a lot of differences.
Yeah, I do pretty much. I don't like switch up who I am, depending on where I am, but I do switch up the delivery
I was
because
just gonna say,
yeah, sometimes you have to get people to digest a lot. You have to set it up a little more in order for them to digest it. And I find that true to be like in the South,
uh,
you just have to kind of put a little layer,
you're cracking
little
me up.
little Southern charm on top
You got
of
to
it to
talk a little
sprinkle in
slower. You got to talk a little slower.
just a
Versus
little
New
bit,
York, New
just a
York,
little
you can.
bit. Yeah, you can rattle off. You can rattle off, and it's like boom, boom, boom. But
Yeah, no, and we'll get to it. Comedians that inspired you when you were younger or whatever, and comedians that you like now.
so I was not really able to. I grew up in a kind of strict Christian household. We didn't really listen to like I don't remember listening to comedy at all. Like,
Oh,
but I
really?
do remember, yeah, going to my cousin's house next door, and they would be listening to like Eddie Murphy and
Okay.
But then I remember distinctly hearing Eddie Murphy use the F bomb.
Right.
And then me being insecure in who I was at the time and knew that that was like a trigger word for me, it kind of like turned me off
Oh,
of,
really?
but as I got older, before this, like in college or whatever, um, I really, I really, as far as like Richard Pryor, his ability to balance and teeter-totter between straight and LGBT, but
Right.
not be considered an LGBT
Right.
comedian. He was the GOAT, the comedian. But he clearly talked about things that were, his interactions and
Sure.
who he was as a person. But it did not define him as a person. And I loved, if there, anything struck that just really I would want to um, mark myself after that.
Well, can I give you props? And I hesitate to bring it up, and if you want, I'll cut it out. But you
No.
talked about your thesis that you're doing.
Ah,
I loved it.
yeah.
I said, damn, this guy's hilarious. Your Instagram reel.
Oh my God,
And I
I'm
thought
doing
that
my
was
senior.
great. The way you worded it, I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just true, like
Well,
I
you
really
can
had
tell
to.
people if you don't mind.
No, yeah, I'm doing my senior thesis on how the negative rhetoric and dogma from the church um, uh, has an effect on the LGBTQIA plus community,
Right.
um, and in which it does. And I'm also speaking from experience and
Sure. Sure.
second person research. And uh, when I met with my professor, he was like, "Oh yeah, the project is 25 pages." I really had to really think, like, do I like gay people that much? Like, I don't know if I'm really like 25 pages, So I had to really like think, and once I thought about it, I was like, yeah, this is something that is dear to me, and it has to. I have to do it. I just
Yeah,
have to
no,
do it.
and I'm sorry if I overstepped my bounds. I just love that bit. I thought
No,
it was
not at
great.
all.
I
I
loved
love
it.
it. I love it too. It was because I love the truth.
You mentioned Patrice, and I want to give a shout out to Patrice DeVoe and D-Lo. and some other people that mentioned you, and I want to give a shout out to them because if it wasn't for them, I would have never heard of you. And I want to give a shout out to them for getting me in touch with you because, as I said, I got nothing but the utmost admiration for you. I think you're great. I think you're going to be a
Likewise,
huge
Scott.
star. I think you're going to be a huge star.
Thank you.
Let's move on. You got a movie coming out in May. I Hate Love. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I hate love. I was at the Baltimore Comedy Factory. I was hosting for Paris Tache. Shout out to Paris. Love her. That's my sister. I
Okay,
was
can you help
hosting
her?
for
Can you
her.
help? Can you help an old white guy get her on the show? Can you get her on the show for me?
Yeah, I'll definitely connect you to.
Anybody who can help me get on the show, I need all the help I can get.
Most certainly, most certainly.
Okay, go
But
ahead. I'm sorry.
I was hosting for her at the Baltimore Comedy
Right.
Factory. And I met this young lady. Met her. She followed me on Instagram, and then months went past, maybe years. I don't know. Maybe been like 1 or 2 years. Then she randomly hits me up, and she was like, her name is Stat, and she randomly hits me up, and she was like, "Hey, there's this movie role I think that you would be great for. They're doing it in Philly, but you have to go audition." Now, I hadn't talked to her since, we initially met,
Right.
but I had earlier, like a couple of weeks prior to that, I said I really want to start like working on like movies and things like that. Um, and then she just hit me up. So I was like, well, this must be, I love when things happen
Kind of like
organically.
you're kind of like how you started doing comedy with the two cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I feel I get that feeling about it. It's like a
Yeah.
certain type of feeling. And so I was like, okay, let me go to Philly and audition. I went to Philly audition. I read for the part. And then they were like, we loved it, but can you just read it one more time? And I read for them again. They were like, okay, we're gonna let you know. A couple weeks later, they let me know we filmed in Philly over a course of weekends, and we just wrapped not too long ago. And they released the trailer. It's I Hate Love, written by Plex from Monster House, and written and directed. And yeah, it's gonna be a great. It was a great project, and I think it's gonna be a great film.
Well, as I said, I'm going to get this up before your show in March, and obviously I'll put the list, your Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if you have YouTube, TikTok, whatever you have. I'll put all the links to everything.
TikTok. Okay, no
No, I
problem.
don't. No, believe it or not, TikTok sent me another email. They want me to come. No, they did. I'm telling you, stupid old me. They want me to come and do videos for them.
You should. TikTok.
Ah, da, da, da. Yeah, just what the world
Yeah.
needs. Scotty T dancing around. uh, I'm old, man. I'm old. The China thing concerns me. Maybe if the
Yeah.
U.S. buys it. No, I'll
Yeah.
be serious for half a second. I just won't. It's not that I don't like Chinese people. It's the China government and the whole facial recognition, and it concerns me. That's
Well, see,
why I'm
here's
not
the
doing it.
thing. A lot of our things are blocked over there. They don't show.
Yeah,
It's not
there
even
is
the
no
same
TikTok in
TikTok.
China.
So,
Yeah, yeah. They
yeah,
kind of that's kind of a bert, dirt, 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 dirt.
yeah. It's crazy.
I have written down here, and again, I don't know whether this is good or not. No Walmart, no Target, no Big Lots, no CVS. What's all that about?
So there is a boycott going on for those companies that got rid of their DEI programs because
Okay.
a lot of people don't even know what DEI is. They think it's like, oh, we're putting this before that, and it's just, equity and making it a level playing field. But so the purpose of that video, I was saying, oh yeah, these are all the places we can't go. So where do we go? Put
Yeah,
suggestions there so people can suggest, and it just turned into this whole like, oh my God, I got
as
so many hateful messages, and it was just bananas. But the more I look at it, it's because it's still going. I'm still
oh
getting
no, I
messages on it, like,
I have a video. I don't know if you saw it. I put a video on Instagram, and it's at 429,000 views.
Wow.
And I shouldn't have done it, Anthony. I shouldn't have done it. And they are in my ass, something fierce.
Woo!
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those that, because see, again, I won't talk too much. I hate when I talk too much. I
No.
got kicked off of Facebook 9 times in 1 year. I got kicked off YouTube for 3 days, and I got kicked off YouTube for 7 days.
Oh.
And I just knew, I thought this is either going to do really well or I'm going to get kicked off again.
So it did well.
Yeah, and it's still, it's like you said, it's kind of got a life of its own, where now they're fighting amongst themselves in the 1,000+ comments.
Yeah, those comments are crazy. Whenever
Yeah,
if I'm like just laying on the couch, I'll go and look at the comments, and they're so funny.
people
People are crazy.
people will
People are
argue
crazy.
over anything.
They will.
You have to
They
take a look
will.
at it and send me a message, let me know what you think.
I definitely
There
will,
are a lot
Scott.
of people that it took a big set of cojones to put it up. It did. It's pretty bad. In other words, you're very clean, and you notice I've been clean. I didn't say anything. This is really bad.
Oh,
It's
I'm
kind of
gonna
like the
check it
joke
out
I told
anyway.
before we started. It's really dark. It's really bad. Let's move on. Favorite show that you've done so far, and then obviously the least favorite show.
Oh,
A good one.
yes, a
I'll
good
tell you what.
one.
I like you a lot, so I'll give you two favorites, and then do one that didn't go so good.
Okay, two favorites.
You can do however many you want. I'm
One,
just kidding you.
so definitely my first time at the Apollo in New York.
Okay.
That's top tier.
Okay.
Um, and then yeah,
It's not meant to be that difficult. Don't
yeah. So
stress over it.
yeah, but the worst one was
Okay, so you're gonna do
when I
that's the that's I'm an idiot if you don't know. I'm an idiot. I
so
went the worst. I went the dirt.
yeah, so the worst one was when I first started doing comedy, and there's a period where you're not getting paid. You're just
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there and you're just blah blah blah. But then this one of my friends reached out and where they were like, "Hey, I've got this gig. I can't do it, and it's a paid gig. Can you go cover for me? Blah blah blah. It's 10 minutes. Blah blah blah." So I went
Okay.
to this place. Um, the friend was like, a person named Chris is gonna, come talk to you about the show and blah blah blah. So I went to the place and it was very dark in there, and it was a serial killer was just lurking in the shadows. I just felt like, and this guy comes over. He has on like this sequin suit and big hair, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Chris. Would you like to come down here with the rest of the performers?" And then we walked to this door, and I really felt like it was like a cobblestone step down into this basement. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm gonna just sit upstairs. Uh, because it was just so like I didn't know what was happening. This was like early in my career, so I was just like, I'm just gonna sit up here. And then the show got started, and this lady came out, and she was dressed like a librarian. And then she snatches her whole outfit off, and she has like a dildo strapped on, and she's like gyrate because I didn't ask any questions. I didn't ask any questions, about what type of show it was, and it was just really crazy. Um, a really crazy time, and then it really threw me off. And then they were like, "Yes, next up is Anthony Oaks," and I'm like, "What is happening right now?" It was,
I,
yeah, that
I
was
wonder
a bad
I
show.
wonder what was going on down in that basement.
I did not want to know. I just feel like somebody would have been like, "It puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again." I just feel
Maybe
like,
that was a early Diddy party.
oh,
You're upset about people not washing their hands.
Oh, yeah. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got food poisoning, the
Okay.
norovirus, which comes from people not washing their hands working in the food industry. And it was a little touch and go at the moment. I literally, like, it was one point where I looked at the doctor, I was like, I am gonna make it, right? Like,
Yeah.
because this is crazy. It was bad. It was bad. It started off like coming out of both ends, and
Yeah.
then I couldn't stop dry heaving, and it was just bile, and I was in the hospital for 2 days. It was a lot. It was
Well,
a lot.
and a full disclosure, and I'm having problems today. We canceled last week. We were going to do this last week, and it's
Yeah.
been 12 days, and I'm still flying on fumes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
scary. Whatever. Well, they're saying it's a combination of flu and this and that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because they
and
really don't know what it is, to be honest. Because
I'll
I
tell you
got
what.
no direct answers.
Let's just make sure we cover everything. I think I
Hmm.
covered most everything that I have written down. If there's anything I missed, please tell the folks now, and then we'll do your comedy minute, and I'll let you get away from my crazy ass.
Yeah, no, Scott, I've had an amazing time. I love your show. I love what you're
I
doing.
appreciate it, but no, let's just make sure we cover. I mentioned the movie, we mentioned the show coming up. You do a recurring show too in DC, don't you?
Yeah, so
Right.
I'm actually so Bus Boys and Poets is a local restaurant here. It has seven
Okay.
locations, 8 locations around the DMV area.
Okay.
And so they have each location has a stage and a performance space and auditorium.
All right.
And they have hosts that host open mics. So I host at the 450 K Street location every
Right.
first Wednesday, in
Okay.
addition to 7 Black Minutes, which I do every month at the Anacostia location. So
Okay.
we
I know
bounce
both
between
those. Yeah.
them. Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, we just rotate out.
Okay. And anything else you want to mention, please do it, my friend.
Yeah, check me out. I'm always at the DC Improv, 7 Black Minutes, I Hate Love, all of these things you can find on my Linktree or my website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just go check it out.
And again, I'll put all the links, and I can't thank you enough. I mean that. And what I said to
Oh,
you, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And
most certainly,
listen,
likewise.
if you want, come back in a few months. Like if you're going to do a special or something, come back and we'll promote it, and I'll do everything I can to help.
Thank you, Scott. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Well, you're not getting out yet. You got one more. We have one more little thing we got to do. Do you know what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Let me do a formal introduction, and then you lay it on them.
All right.
Anthony Oakes, your comedy minute. Go ahead, my friend.
This is my comedy minute. I want to, in the spirit of upcoming Pride, I want everyone to love who you love.
Right.
We are all consenting adults here. Stay out of people's bedrooms. I always tell people that my dad is not down for the fact that I'm engaged to a man, but he's also on his fourth wife. Um, and so I know it's so crazy, but he doesn't believe in gay math. Like that's the thing. Like I always tell him about like gay math. Like literally, four wives equal one gay husband. Like and he just does not get the. He doesn't get it. So listen, check out gay math.
Game.
Yeah, that's my comedy minute.
Oh, it's fantastic. And I'll tell you what, I screwed it up before, and I'll try not to screw it up again. But just so you know, I do a bit about that, and I'm being sincere. It's partly a bit, but it's also sincere. I don't give a shit if you're lesbian, bi, gay, transsexual, asexual, pansexual, anything. I come from York, Pennsylvania. A guy had sex with a sheep. True story. My friend, thank you.